What do you say to a GOAT that's kind of past his prime a little bit?
The man himself doesn't really need an intro, but just in case, Lil Wayne is a rapper, if not one of the best rappers to come out of the game in the past 50 years, and is based out of New Orleans, Louisiana, and has been rapping since the age of 14, if I'm correct, and probably in he started in like the mid to late 90s and has just had a run of great hits with his mixtape series, his Carter series, running from one to currently six, and Carter three being like the cream of the crop of that with just banger after bangers when it came out back in like 2010, 11, where he was at the height of his career. Where during university, that's where I really kind of like learned more about him through all my mutual friends, just listening to him, just bumping his music really hard, and him just churning out mad hits at that time. And then over the years, he's had a very up and down career with, going in and out of jail and just having some like subpar releases, but overall staying somewhat consistent and relevant throughout the cultural zeitgeist. And with this recent release, the Carter Six, it seems like it's a bit of a knee jerk reaction in terms of getting snubbed for the Super Bowl because Kendrick Lamar was the first ever solo male rap artist to headline the Super Bowl, and a lot of people felt the type of way about it. And because of that, I think words got out and got into Lil Wayne's ear, and so he felt very offended that he wasn't playing that. And I think the reaction to that is created this album, and I think overall, it's not a good way to go about making your art, even like I guess with beefs and being called out in rap and hip hop. But this just feels not well done and not put together. It feels very hastily put together and just feels very scrappy. With this return with the Carter Six, I feel like this project aims to bridge his legacy while also trying to be fresh and quite experimental. But the results overall feel very uneven, and they're caught between somewhere between, I would say, innovation and inconsistency. The opening song here, King Carter, is a cinematic intro that attempts to set a very grand tone to what's to come on this album. On this track, there's a sense of reflection and celebration for Wayne's accomplishments throughout his years, supported by some gritty guitar textures in the undertones. That epic tone he is setting here quickly fizzles out, and as the project moves along, it just feels it moves along into more scattered territory. Tracks like Welcome to the Carter and Bells offer a glimpse of classic Wayne lyricism here, but they kind of fall flat with very repetitive beats and overall flows that just don't really evolve. There's never really a climax, there's never really a payoff to these songs. And so it just kind of goes and goes and goes and just ends. So it doesn't really leave a lasting impression. So here's a clip of Bells for you so you get a sense of what he's delivering on this newest album.
The needles, I've been sticking to my word. That's that murder in this blunt. I feel like Ja Rule and Herb. I son these niggas. Wear your sunscreen, nigga. I swear I ain't touched the ground since Jump Street, nigga. I'm a Eagle Street, nigga. Watch my wings swing, nigga. Got a king me, nigga. Ding, 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 nigga. Bells.
There's a lot of empty space in the song, and it just feels like a very fluffy song. Despite some clever wordplay in these early tracks, much of it just feels like the energy is not really there, and it lacks a little bit of depth to it. He's got some bars here and there, but overall, it doesn't really stick with you. At this point, in some way, it's kind of in like Wayne's own classic fashion. He's exploring some different sonic textures and directions with this album, like he's done with previous efforts, but they don't really land as well. Songs like The Days and If I Play Guitar kind of lean more into softer, more introspective territory, even incorporating features from like Bono from YouTube. While the intention here seems quite noble, the execution overall feels very awkward, and it feels like he is being more of like a genre tourist than anything, instead of like a genuine evolution. Like he's just dipping into some kind of genre just for fun off of one track and just trying to not really I guess play well, not play well, but work with these different genres very well. The Days in particularly just feels like a very bizarre mix between Coldplay and 21 Pilots, with overly sentimental lyrics and just goofy cheerful tone that just undercuts the emotional weight to the song. It's just, and oddly, it feels very dated in a weird way. It's like I guess Lil Wayne trying to do those collabs of yesteryear and trying to make something cool here, but it just feels corny. So here's a clip of The Days for you.
Anything can happen. On 9/11, I was in Manhattan, but these are the days and time steady passing and life steady flashing in front of my glasses. And I ain't getting younger, but I'm getting better. Got no time to waste, that's another man's treasure. They say every dog has his day. You gotta pet him, and today is now or never. These are the days.
I will say, Lil Wayne sounds pretty clear here. His vocal delivery is not that bad, but I guess I feel like I'm aging myself a little bit, but it just feels very dated in that mid 2013, 2012 vibe of like, you know, upbeat, I won't say folk sounding sounds, but it reminds me of Urban Outfitters at the time. And I loved it and everything. It feels like a B-side to B.O.B.'s Airplane song. It just doesn't really hit the mark, I guess, now, or maybe not that great if it was put back then. It just doesn't really mesh that well. There are moments on this album where Wayne seems more locked in terms of his overall vocal presence and just bars and just beats. There's some moments here. The song Maria, I think, is a good standout here because it has a unique beat because it's sampling that old song. I think it's an Italian song, Oh My Maria. I'm probably butchering like what the original name is, but it's a very subtle sample here that sounds really good. And the guest appearance from Wyclef Jean, he sounds really crisp and clear and very engaged. Overall, the song feels very inspiring. Loki's theme is a wild but welcome experimental song here that kind of has like a very slick rap verse over some gangster production that just unexpectedly shifts into some heavy guitars that, you know, at first are a little bit jarring, but they do get better as the song goes along. But it's a nice mishmash of genres here. It's definitely one of the most boldest moves on this album slash probably his career in terms of making music. And like I said, it gets better as you listen to it, and it's not that bad. Unfortunately, these highlights are surrounded by some very forgettable and almost just baffling songs that made the cut. And one of those baffling cuts is the song Peanuts to Elephants. It has one of the worst beats on the album slash probably one of the worst beats I ever heard. Something about it feels like it's ripped out from an old Sega Genesis soundtrack. And like the performance from Lil Wayne, there's like no charisma here. And like there's nothing here to really salvage it. It just feels like he's going through the motions. They picked a very random, quirky beat to be like, yo, let's do something really different, super left field, which, you know, experiment, do that stuff, but it just falls flat so hard. So here's a clip of Peanuts to Elephants.
Got some fucking jumbo, big face hundos. My bitch got an elephant booty, not a rump roast. It's that gas, mad space, ashtray, gun smoke. Niggas with the mad face, smash face, snub nose. I ain't snuffing up against, but you could get snuffed out the gun go. Talking legit is irrelevant.
I feel like this is one of the few times where I can say this. I try not to be too negative, and I feel like this is what some people would say in terms of the youth. I would say this song is straight ass. Then you have the song Island Holiday, which samples Weezer's famous song Island in the song. And it's another misfire here, weighted down by some really heavy-handed and poorly used auto-tune. And the execution just really misses the mark, despite it's an interesting idea. And I feel like they were like, yo, let's go for like, you know, something unexpected. We'll like, you know, bring the nostalgia here by sampling one of the biggest rock songs of the 90s. And a lot of people, especially probably my age and older, 35 to 40s, really gravitate to Weezer. So they probably would think, oh, this is a cool collab and stuff or a cool sample. But it just sounds horribly like chopped up and just bad. The collaborations on this album range from being pretty solid to quite distracting to almost just being pointless in a way. Big Sean and Jelly Roll contribute to the song Sharks, and their roles in the song, with Big Sean on the verse sounding pretty like typical of himself, and then Jelly Roll working on the chorus, and his vocals kind of match the overall vibe of the songs. They are pretty decent on this track. And then you have 2 Chainz here, who shows up on the song Cotton Candy. He feels a little bit more on the lackluster side. He doesn't really seem to be doing too much, but overall, you know, there are some good and some bad about these songs, but I do feel like these songs are a bit on the undercooked side. Meanwhile, you have the song Moolah coming in featuring Lil Novi. Never heard of this person before, but it's possibly one of the most skippable tracks on here because it is marred by some really muffled production and some of the worst vocal mixing on the album. Like, it's atrocious listening to Lil Novi on this track. Lil Wayne is bouncing between being very introspective and quite boastful at times, but he rarely lands any of his lyrical punches. Everything just kind of like it's not living up to what he's been known for. Because on the final track, Written History, he's trying to cement his greatness by, name dropping himself, being, yo, I'm the greatest over and over. And it just comes off a bit insecure and a bit forced because if you're the greatest, you don't really have to say it. I mean, maybe once. And, just like it's a little bit on the overkill side. If you just did it one time, it might have been like, yeah, we get it, respect and everything. Or even better, if you never say you're the greatest, that's how I think the greats can be. You don't even have to say it. Let your words and your talent just speak for himself, but it's not really here. It feels like a bit of a desperate cry for attention. To simply put it, there's a difference between, reminding people of your legacy and demanding they recognize it. And it feels like Wayne is like falling more into the latter here, where he's demanding his recognition, where he had it for years. People would always say it for him. And I think possibly all the years of like him hearing it, doing what he's doing, it might have gotten to a little bit, and that's why we get this knee jerk of a reaction for an album. So by the time you get to the end of the Carter 6, it feels like there's this lingering sense of like this could have been something larger, tighter, and just more impactful if it was better curated and just like handled better. Wayne is clearly experimenting here with his legacy and his sound, and there's still some flashes of brilliance for sure on here, but the project suffers from really like bad inconsistency, overuse of autotune, and moments that just feel more like filler than evolution when it comes to his sound. The Carter 6 is an ambitious but flawed entry in Wayne's discography. While it's good to take risks and experiment with your sound with whatever you do, mad respect to Wayne trying to do that here, but it feels like everything here was quickly made and quickly rushed out, and so a lot of the songs here and a lot of the feelings just don't land that well. He's swinging really hard, but he's missing more than he's like landing hits here. Overall, there are a few, and when I mean few standout tracks on here. There was nothing amazing here. There were some okay to decent songs on here, but nothing of what like he was been able to do in the past. A lot of it is just him trying to remind us of his greatness than actually be great. And too often it feels like he's coasting on his legacy here than really trying to redefine it or trying to shake things up. And so if anything, this does more damage to his legacy with this album. And so overall, I gotta say the Carter 6, not the best from Wayne. Probably could do better, but also, like I said, this is a fast response to I think everything that's been going on in the past year. If probably no one ever said anything about the Super Bowl thing, we might have never gotten this album, to be honest. So I would say overall, this newest Lil Wayne album, the Carter 6, I would give it a good and okay 5 out of 10. Links down below. Tell me what you think about this album. Tell me what you think is the best Lil Wayne album, the best song. Personally, I think his song She Will, which is kind of like getting a lot of traction on Spotify, but I knew from back in the day when I heard it on Carter 3, that was one of his best songs. It just, it goes so hard. So if you haven't checked it out, go check out She Will by Lil Wayne. And until next time, guys, I will see you in the pig.